Hello and welcome to Thursday's ITV7 Picks podcast, where me and Frankie Foster are back to go through all 7 races on the third day of Royal Ascot, as we're trying to find you some winners on Thursday's ITV7 free-to-play game. And that sees all 7 races from the Royal meeting on the third day, with you up for a chance to win £150,000 in jackpot money. Frankie, we're going to talk about the third day and what's on the ITV7 on the third day at Royal Ascot in just a second, but the first day of Royal Ascot is now gone at the time that we're recording. The first day, and what a first day it was. There were some shocks, there were some superb performances. What were your takeouts?
Yeah, brilliant first day. I think both River, Tiber and Vauban were probably the performances of the day for me. One in for the Jumps lads. Well, actually 2 in for the Jumps lads, with Nick Henderson's horse winning as well. I saw a great celebration from Rich Ritchie as Vauban went and won. And yeah, Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien doing what they do. We've already had records broken with Aidan surpassing Ascot winners. So yeah, it had it all really. The only thing it didn't have was a flying dismount from Frankie. So I'm sure he'll be, not that he did anything wrong, but I'm sure he'll be frustrated he couldn't get his head in front on Inspiral. So he'll definitely be trying to find winners on the Thursday if he hasn't by Wednesday anyway. But yeah, cracking first day and some top class performances.
Yeah, bang on. And Frankie, I'm sure he'll have a winner for the week. I know he didn't have the best of times at Royal Ascot last year, but with his being his swan song, hopefully he can grab a winner or 2 across the week. Right then.
Molly Dawn as well. Another, forgot to mention, first female to ride a Group 1 at Ascot. It had it all.
Yes, he did. He did actually. He did have it all. It was a great first day, and we're recording just ahead of the second day, so hopefully there's some more great action there. But we're going to focus in on now the third day at Royal Ascot, and I just want to bring your attention to the ITV7 free-to-play game. If you want to join TWE's league, there's a £250 first place prize for finishing top of the leaderboard across the week. You can play each day, the remaining 3 days of the meeting, and there's £750,000 in jackpot prizes across the week that you can win. Just use code TWE ITV7 to join our league. Details and terms and conditions are in the description below. So if you want to get involved, check that out, and there's a link in there you can click on to have a look at it. So by all means, get involved because there's plenty of money up for grabs, and it's all free to play. And me and Frankie now are going to try and find some winners for you on day 3 to help that pot and build. So, Frankie, the first race we're going to look at on day 3 of Royal Ascot meeting is the 2:30 Group 2 Norfolk Stakes over 5 furlongs. And this one has a really hot favourite. Compared to other years when it's fairly open at the top of the market, this one has a hot favourite of elite status for Carl Burke at 7-4. You've got American Rascal for the American team of Wesley Ward at 4s. Notcha Magica at 15-2, No Name Mets 9-1, and then 14-1, bigger the rest. The big question here is, are you with the favourite at such a small price? I know it doesn't matter for the ITV7, but at 7-4, does he represent value, or is elite status just the right horse that's going to go and win this?
I'm with the favourite, yeah. I think unless you know something that we don't, or you know someone that knows something that we don't off of what we've seen, elite status is the one they've got to beat. You've obviously got to respect American Rascal in here out of Lady Aurelia. But again, I'd be willing to take chances on horses like that we know less about. Maybe, an overseas raider or one that had one start. If we hadn't a horse in here that had been so impressive. But we have got that in elite status. He was just so good at Sandown, the way that he quickened. He put a decent field to bed. It wasn't just a novice with a load of kind of no-hopers in behind. It was a decent field, and he really put them to bed in a couple of strides and quickened. So it's quite straightforward. Prices don't matter, as you mentioned, and I really do think he sets the standard on what we've seen. So elite status for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think from an ITV7 perspective, elite status is the right way to go here. You bang on about American Rascal. Yes, lovely pedigree, but what we've seen a lot with the American horses in all the time they've come over to Royal Ascot, this horse ran over 4.5 furlongs over in America. It's a stiff 5 here in the Norfolk Stakes. You've seen a lot of the American horses absolutely fly out and then they don't finish off the races, where we know elite status will finish off his race. what he did last time at Sandown, beating that field by 5 lengths, I thought was an absolutely superb performance, and it's got the form, the best form going for it in the field. So I don't know why you wouldn't play it in this game. World of Darcy runs in the last race on day 2, and he's about 16-1. So if you see how that horse runs, that might be an indicator, because that was 5 lengths behind Elite Status. So that might be a bit of an indicator to how this is going to run. And I can only see the price shorting if that goes close. But yeah, Elite Status for me, stepping up to Group 2 level from listed, I think deserves that. Yeah, I think he's the winner in this one. And hopefully, it can be a good start for favourite backers on the third day. Next up at Royal Ascot then on day 3 sees the first big fielded handicap event of the day with the competitive King George, the 5th stakes over 1 mile 4. A really good field goes to post here, Frankie. The bettings as follows: Tagaboa at 9-2, Bertinelli, an old favourite of mine, 7-1, Burglar 7-1, Perfuse at 8-1, Wonder Legend 8-1, Davideo, sorry, at 14s, and 14-1 bigger the rest. As you can see at the top of the market, they're not split by much. But who took your fancy in this one?
Yeah, towards the top of the market, Perfuse for Sir Michael Stout. Hopefully, give him another Royal Ascot winner to add to his very large tally. I thought Perfuse was very, very impressive last time out. I think a mark of 94 is very fair. And after just 3 starts, this horse will still be improving. They were clear of third that day at Donny, and was backed into odds on favourite before, so they clearly like the horse. And I think really went and won pretty cosily. I don't think Richard had to use the whip. It just gave him a little shake up and away he went. So yeah, Profuse for me for Sir Michael Stout and Richard Kingscote.
Yeah, that was one I looked at, 8-1 in the market. And I do think within the field, having run over 1 mile 4, there's a few that haven't. So you do have that slight edge that he'll stay the trip. I am going for one, as I say that, I am going for one that does need to prove it over 1 mile 4, having only run over 1 mile 2. But the one that caught the eye for me was Wonder Legend for James Ferguson. He has got 2 in here with Land Legend that's slightly bigger, but I think this is the number 1 pick. Daniel Muscat rides. He made his debut last term at Kempton over a mile, and he was a good 5th in a race that has worked out really well. But Stabshire was first. Davideo was second, who's obviously in this race, who I do like as well. 4th was Amleto, and Wonder Legend was 5th, and they've all gone on to win their next race. So the form of that race was really, really strong. Back in February this year, over the same course and distance, he bumped into a nice one, measured time. But next time out at Wolverhampton, got off the mark for his career in quite nice fashion. Last seen stepping up to 1 mile 2 at Doncaster on soft ground. He absolutely bolted up on handicap debut by 5 lengths. And the second has since come out and won as well. He has been raced heavily for that to a mark of 94, but he needed to get into this race. I think the extra distance on Thursday afternoon will bring a lot more improvement in his pedigree says that should help as well. So James Ferguson, he knows how, if you look at his odd few runners he's had at Royal Ascot over the last few years, they have ran fairly well. He had someone in the Queen's Vase. He's had one in this as well over the last few years. I think this horse can go close at 8-1. So Wonder Legend from Store 12 is my selection in the handicap. Right then, moving on to one of the features of the day. It's the Group 2 Ribblesdale Stakes. And Frankie, what I like about this race this year, maybe not from an ITV7 perspective, because you've got to find a winner out of 19 runners. But last year we had only 6-7 runners in this race, and now we have 19. So it's great to see a competitive field go to post from a visual perspective. Even saying that, we've got a tough favourite at the top of the market in the supplemented Al Asifa for Jonathan de Gosden and Shadwell. And these connections had by Eid last year. They went on to do absolutely great things with the Horse of the Year. And I feel like they could have another with Al Asifa at 10-11 at the top of the market. Are you with her or are you against her, Frankie?
The ITV7, I am believing the dream of Alasifa. We don't have to worry about prices. I mean, there's like you said, the big field here, and the great thing about it is you've got horses like Infinite Cosmos, who's ran really well in group races. You've got Warm Heart for Aidan O'Brien, and you're getting each way prices about them. So I definitely think there's an angle in with a couple outside the top. But from an ITV7 perspective, Alasifa, the daughter of Frankel, just so impressive. And again, it wasn't like she was racing in, a class 4 novice. It was a listed race, and she was so relaxed throughout all the race. And then when she wanted to quicken and go and win, it was just so easy. So I'm believing the dream, and she could just keep getting better and better. And who knows how long her unbeaten record might go on for if she can go and win a race of this quality. So yeah, I'm going with the favourite. There definitely are some other angles in from an each way perspective, but try and find the winner, and they're all the same price. I'll go with the favourite.
Yeah, I don't think you could have summed it any better really, because I like this race from an each way perspective. You like Blue Stocking, Infinite Cosmos. I think Warm Heat is a massive price at 16-1. But Alasifa could just be an absolute superstar. And when you're just looking for that winner in a 19 runner field that can blow a field away in the ITV7, you've got to go with Alasifa, haven't you? In my opinion, I like what the team have done, supplemented for this race, because I think a lot of trainers and a lot of connections that try and wait for certain races, and then the horse might not be the same, and especially when they're a filly, I think they're more difficult than colts and geldings throughout the season. And striking while the iron is hot is what they're doing here. Obviously, supplementing is quite a big thing for this event. Her win last time out at Goodwood visually was one of the best performances I've seen all season. Yes, it's probably not the greatest, as in it was a listed a race against horses that are unproven, but how she pulled away from the field was just breathtaking, wasn't it? And I think she's only going to keep improving. The Shadwell always seemed to have that one horse, and I think this year Alasifa is that one. I think she'll go on to win a Group 1 throughout the season, and on her way to doing that, I think she'll win the Ribblesdale. So she is my selection also in that race. Right then, the big Group 1 event of the entire meeting is the Gold Cup over 2 mile 4. We've seen some unbelievable winners of this race over the years, and this year's renewal looks another cracker. At the top of the market, we have Coltrane for Andrew Balding, Elder of the St. Ledger winner at 7-2. Emily Dickinson's come for some money at 13-2. Courage Mon Ami for Jonathan Gosden, New Connections at 7. Subjectivist, the winner of 2021 in 10-1. Broom at 12s. Your Beer stepping up in a mile at 12-1. And then you got Echoes and Rain at 14s. And Trushan even 20-1 and bigger the rest. Frankie, we obviously talked about this on our anti-post preview, didn't we? Quite in depth. There's so many different ways this race could go. Could Subjectivist come back? Coltrane, obviously at the top of the market, seriously solid. Eldarov has got the Group 1 form. There's so many different ways you could look at it, but who are you siding with?
Yeah, you mentioned Subjectivist. That was my each way selection. And I think that you've got every chance, or I think you're getting a very fair price that he could run back to some of his old form. But Coltrane, as we mentioned, just ticks a lot of boxes. Has won over course and distance, has won the trial for this race, is getting better and better with every run. The ground should probably be perfect for him on the Thursday. And it's probably Oisin Murphy's best chance of the week on paper. So it's really hard to look past the favourite. And I am going to stick Coltrane in my ITV7.
Yep, I'm joining you again. And I think you know why I put it up as my nap of the meeting, didn't I? And I'm going to stick by that. I know it's a tough race to put your nap in, but I just think Coltrane is one of the most solid horses throughout the week to run his race. I'll be so disappointed if he doesn't, because he's got everything going for him. All the battles he did with Trushan and the likes of Kyprios and Stradivarius last season is only going to make him into such a better horse. He's only 6 years of age. You look at these stayers, they go on to be 7, 8, and still running their races. What he did in the Cigaro Stakes over 2 miles at Ascot this season was exactly what you wanted to see for this race. He travelled beautifully into the race. When the leader went off in front, he didn't panic. He cruised up. And he's obviously got the stamina over 2 mile 4 because he won the Ascot Stakes last season. I know Bring On the Night didn't run well on the first day of the festival this season, but was obviously still well handicapped, didn't get any run. Coltrane's now £19 higher. If that doesn't show the progression this horse has made, I don't know what does. I think he'll keep progressing. His form over course and distance reads superbly. I could keep reeling off stats about this horse in all the big races he ran in last season that just makes him solid, especially at Ascot. So Coltrane, I think he's absolutely solid in the Gold Cup market, and I think he goes and wins And I think it'd be a great win for Andrew Broading to land the event. So, yeah, Coltrane for the both of us as well. This is where we might differ on the next race, because this is where it gets a lot trickier. One of the trickiest punting events of the week, in my eyes, is the Britannia Stakes. We see 30 runners go to post, 30 odd runners go to post for this one. And Frankie, where do you even start with this? Because you've got 8-1 as your marker at the top of the market. So have a go at finding the winner.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? You're like, are you trying to find one that maybe might run to some old form and could be well handicapped, or are you trying to find a rapid improver? I'm going with the latter in Docklands, who prior to winning at Ascot in May had only won a class 5 at Hampton and was actually beaten in a novice at Wolves. So doesn't immediately jump off the page, but Cicero's Gift was who won that race at Wolves. And then if you go to that recent Ascot run, was incredibly impressive, and really, won the race as he liked. He has gone up £14, but he's still only rated 94, so it's not like he's been hiked up in the weights and has to now carry top weight in the field. Still off a mark on 94 and could potentially be, beyond handicap level, listed Group 3 level maybe. So Docklands and Hayley Turner for me.
Yeah, I like Docklands. I nearly went with him as well. I'm a massive fan of Cicero's Gift, and I know if you actually look at the results, he finished nowhere in the St James's Palace Stakes. Go back and watch that. He got stopped 3 times at the inner rail. That is that you can't take him on his merit for that at all. Cicero's Gift's a much better horse than that. I think the form's very strong with Docklands, and at 14s, I think he's got a very good chance of being a course and distance winner. But the one I've gone for the ITV7, he's at a bigger price. And I just think he's been overlooked in the market massively. It's Royal Cape for Hughie Morrison. He started the term off at Kempton in April, when a head second to Lose Your Wad over a mile. And it looked an above average maiden to me, that did. He then went to Windsor on soft ground and absolutely bolted up by 10 lengths. I was there that day, and visually it was a great performance. Oisin Murphy made a mockery of the field, going for home very early on, and he stayed really strongly. He was last seen in the competitive Silver Bowl handicap over a mile at Haydock. He ran a cracker off a mark of 88 to finish second to the well-handicapped Covey. Covey had about £10 in hand that day, and Royal Cape was the one that stayed on him behind him. He's only been raised £1 to that for a mark of 89. I think there's more to come from Royal Cape. And at 20-1, I think he could be a big price, and I think he's one of the more likely winners of the Britannia for the ITV7. So I'll be going with Royal Cape for that one. The penultimate event on the ITV7 game on the third day of Royal Ascot is the Group 3 Hampton Court Stakes. And Frankie, this is another, when we talked about the Ribblesdale at the start of the show, that's got 19 runners this year and didn't have many the year before. This is very similar, because this has got a really strong field going to post again. 16 runners when there wasn't many at all. I think there was 5 last year in this race. And we see a lot of Group 1, Group 2 performers that are dropping back to Group 3, and you're just about all finding out who's the better one and who's got more in hand, really. Epictetus, obviously, is going to be at the top of the market, where Frankie's horses have all been backed in at 5-1. Drumroll at 6-1 for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien had a great first day. Torito for Jonathan Thaisley Gosden at 6s, Bold Act 15-2, Exoponic 15-2, Wapiro 11s, Carnarvon 11s as well, who holds some good Group 1 form this season, of 14-1, bigger the rest. There was 2 I liked in here, Frankie, and I couldn't make my mind up, and you picked the other one, so take it away.
Hopefully we've got one between us then. What were your 2, Epictetus and Carnarvon?
No, Torito and Torito and Carnarvon, but I've gone with Torito because I backed him last time, didn't I?
I remember, yeah.
The goods in the handicap, and I'm going to stick by him, but I know you've gone for Jack Channon's horse, and why wouldn't you, with the Group 1 form she's shown this season?
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Group 1 performers dropping down into Group 3 level, and she was 4th in the Guineas over the mile, which when staying on pretty strongly, you kind of suggested, okay, she's going to improve for a step up in trip, and then hit the front in the Oaks, and maybe you might say, well, now dropping back 2 furlongs, this could be the optimal trip. And she has run really good races in both of those top class level races, but behind top class winners as well. So she does have great form. She looks tough. She's finished her races really well. She looks quite straightforward as well, to be honest. So you'd hope she'd be in the frame, and if not, could go and win this.
I can't believe a price. I
Yeah.
think 11-1, he's seriously underestimating her value in this field. She's shown it twice already this season, like you say, in those two classic races that are so tough to win. Dropping back to 1 mile 2 will absolutely suit her, definitely. And it's another one where it's striking where the iron's hot. They could have waited, couldn't they, for other races down the line later in the season, but they've come to Royal Ascot 20 days later, and I think she's got a cracking chance. But I've got to stick by my boy Torito. I said last time he was a group horse in a handicap. He proved that massively off a mark of 95. He won so snugly. He's gone up £10 to that. He's obviously a mark of 105. That doesn't matter majorly in this group three event because it's similar weights. But I just liked how he won at Epsom last time out. If you look out, he's under Benoit de la Salle again, who I think is a brilliant rider. The way he cruised up on the outside, and then it was almost like Benoit knew how much he had in hand, because even at the line, he was going away. He was motionless. So, look, he just step up in grade here, and he's got to prove that what I've said, that he was a group horse and a handicap, because this is the first group race he's going into. So he's got to run a big race. But for me, I think he's going from strength to strength, and I think he's got a massive chance. So Torito for John and Thady Gosden, and I also think, even though Epictetus, I think it could be another one that Frankie might have choose wrong on, because I think Torito could turn out to be a bit better than Epictetus. And I know that might be a bold statement, because Epictetus was once upon a time up there in the top of the market for the Derby, wasn't he? So I just don't think he's shown it since then, where Torito's on the up and Epictetus isn't. So we'll have to wait and see. But two solid selections from both of us there, because I think they've both got really big chances. Right then, the final ITV7 race on day 3 of Royal Ascot is another tricky handicap, over 7 furlongs, and it's the Buckingham Palace Stakes. We 12-1 leads the field here, Frankie, with Montesib at the top of the market. So this just shows how tough this is. But who do you think is the most likely winner in this race?
Poor. The most likely winner. That's not set me up for it. I'm having a swing at one, really.
Okay.
I'm just hoping that we might see some return to form. Obviously, in a handicap at Ascot, that's when it matters, and that's when these horses are trained to be at their best. So Ross Collin, who was third in this last year, off a £10 higher, hasn't performed since. What's probably most worrying is after wind surgery has come back and still not performed. So maybe they're trying a few things in it and it hasn't been working. But as I said, it's an inspired pick, and if he runs to his best form, then he's got every chance, of course. But he needs everything to go right for him. He needs to bounce back to form. He needs to have some luck in running. But he's not too old. He's only 5 years old, so I'm still, under the opinion that there's got to be a good run left in him. Big price, 0 form of late, but there is some if you keep going back, and he was third in this last year. So Ross Collin.
Yeah, there's value on offer, 33-1 for Ross Collin. And when you've got such big fields like this, why not take a swing at one? Because we've already seen from the first day 2 big price winners. So you might need to just add them into your ITV7 selections to land that prize. There's one that I picked out here, and I just found this race so hard. But he's an old favourite of mine and Paul's, and it's Biggles. And I know he mentioned it on our Royal Ascot Anti-Post pod. And I hadn't looked at this race too much, obviously, until declarations can come out. And obviously, you're looking at draws. And if you look on the opening day, a lot of the lower numbers actually ran really, really well, where I think a lot of people thought it might be the high numbers. And Biggles is drawn in 3. And he could just play 2 strengths if they're all staying on this side of the track. What I like about Biggles for the ITV7 is just how consistent he is. And I know if you don't have a winner, I know also if you're placed, that helps towards your total towards the end, especially within the league. So with Biggles not finishing out the top 3 in these last 5 races, and he's still on a mark of 100 that he's run off exactly the same time for the last 3. Well, it will be 3 runs on Thursday. I think he makes him a really good proposition for this race. He made his seasonal debut at Haydock on good ground in a decent handicap over 7 furlongs. He ran a cracker to finish a close 3rd. He was giving weight away to both the winners that day off a mark of 100. And it was a really solid run. Last time out, he was seen at Ascot over course and distance, when second on soft ground to Rebel Territory. Rebel Territory absolutely bolted up that day by 4 lengths. But Biggles ran home in second, the best of the rest. I think he's drawn in a good position if you go off what the first day stats are telling you, and racing off 100 again. I just thought he could hit the frame. I thought he was more solid than most in the field. So Biggles for Ryan Moore, that man Ryan Moore, and Rafe Beckett is my selection in the lucky last on Thursday. Frankie, 3 days done now. First day, not a bad start. Few winners between us, few places. It's a good marker to start with, and it's something to improve on. And hopefully, day 2, we've done that.
We've got a couple winners in. That's what matters. You don't want a barren day, do you?
Exactly. So hopefully day 2, we continue that, and day 3, we kicked on even more. But thank you again for all your selections. We'll be back with an ITV7 preview for the other 2 days, the Friday and the Saturday. So make sure you subscribe to the Winners Enclosure channel so you get notified once those have gone live. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, if you do want to get involved in this year's completely free to enter ITV7 competition on the Thursday, use the code TWE ITV7 to join the TWE League with a £250 first place cash prize for finishing top of the leaderboard at the end of the week. And also, there is £750,000 in jackpot prizes across the week to get involved with, and £150,000 on the Thursday exactly. So check the T's and C's out for more details in the description below if you want to get involved. Thanks for watching our day 3 Royal Ascot preview, and all the best whatever you're backing.